All right, good evening. We are looking at proportional relationships tonight. And proportional relationships means that something is growing at a constant rate or shrinking at a constant rate. And so proportional relationships are relationships in which the ratios or units being compared are equivalent. To check to see if they are proportional, we are going to find the unit rate. And we have done this before, and then we've used that unit rate in the highway robbery activity. We used the unit rate to then find what we were looking for, to find the missing or the unknown. And so we're going to find the unit rate, but I'm also going to show you a way to skip finding the unit rate to see if they are proportional. So one thing I can do here, I can reduce this down, and I can say if I've got two fractions and I want to see if they're proportional, I just need to see if they're equivalent. So one thing I can do is I can reduce one of them down to see if I can get to the other one. Well, this one, if I divide by 6 and divide by 6, I get 3/4. I can't reduce 3/4 anymore to get to 2/3, so this is not proportional. So they are not equivalent to each other. This one right here, I'm like, can I get 24 to 4? And I'm like, I would divide by 6. Can I get 30 to 5? That would also be divided by 6. So since I'm dividing by the same thing, that means I can indeed reduce this fraction to this fraction, which means that these are equivalent. So that means that they are proportional. Over here, I'm going to actually do these division problems. I'm going to show you on this one that I do the division problem. Then I'm also going to show you how to do some cross multiplying to see and solving proportions that way as well. So in this one, I could say 1/2 divided by 3/4, which is 1/2 times 4/3, because remember, you multiply by the reciprocal. I can reduce before if I feel comfortable doing that, and I'm going to get 2/3. When I do the other one, I'm going to do 2/5 divided by 1/2. So that's 2/5 times 2/1. And that is going to give me 4/5. So this is not the same as this. So this is not proportional. This one right here, another way I can do this. I can cross multiply when I do this, I get 1/6 here. And when I do this, I get 1/6 here. And since they're equal to each other, then it is indeed proportional. So we're going to look at some word problems with this, and I'm going to show you how to solve them both ways. So 27 points. If I score 27 points in 2 games, or I score 162 points in 12 games, I'm going to find for one game, in other words, how much am I scoring per game? What's my average? So 162 divided by 12. I'm scoring 13.5 points per game. And when I do this one, this is also going to end up being 27 divided by 2 is 13.5 points per game. So I could say, yes, this is proportional. And then I would say the unit rate is 13.5 points per game. Having some focus issues there. Sorry about that. The second question here that we're going to look at says 108 words typed in 2 minutes. So 108 words in 2 minutes, or 486 words in 9 minutes. When I do this division problem, I don't know what the glare here, if you can even see this, but 108 divided by 2 gives me 54 words per minute, and 486 divided by 9 also gives me 54 words per minute. So yes, this is proportional, and the unit rate is 54 words per minute. This next one says, in a basketball game, Samantha made 15 shots out of 25 attempts. And then Perul made 12 shots out of 20 attempts. So little trick is Samantha, I'm going to underline her in one color. She made 15 out of 25 taken, 25 attempts. And then we've got Perul made 12 shots out of 20 attempts. So the two different colors make sure that I have the right numbers together. So when I do 15 over 25, I can reduce that. I could also turn it into a decimal. So I could look at and compare the decimals as well. So I could reduce this. I could divide by 5 and get 3 over 5. And here if I reduce by 4, I also get 3 over 5. But I could have also done 15 divided by 25, and I would get that she was shooting 60%, or 0.6. And I would have also gotten that Perul was shooting 60%. So yes, they both make 3 out of 5 attempts. That's pretty good. Our next one, Carlos walked 8 miles in 3 hours. So we're going to figure out how many miles he can walk per hour. Leah walked 14 miles in 6 hours. So we're going to find out how many miles she can walk per hour. This comes over here and you're like, it's 8/3 of a mile, which is 2 2/3 of a mile per hour, which I would want to write like that. So take a second and look at that and make sure that makes sense to you. On this one over here, I would get 14 rather over 6, which is 7 over 3 in 1 hour. And when I take this and make a mixed number out of it, it's obviously not going to be the same there. I would get 2 1/3 miles per hour. So that means if they were walking for an hour, Carlos would be 1/3 of a mile ahead of Leah when you checked in on them. So since these are not the same, then you would just say, no, this is not a proportional relationship. Now I can use the same idea when I'm working with shapes. And I'm going to do corresponding side lengths. So in other words, if I say that these are similar triangles, this side corresponds to this side on this triangle. So this is like the miniature version of this. I shrunk this one down. And when I shrunk it down, those are the same sides that match up, which also means these sides, this side corresponds or matches up to this one. You want to go from the second one here. So I'm going to do 10 feet and 5 feet, and I have 6 feet and 3 feet. Well, this can reduce down to 3/5 if I divide them both by 2. Since they have the same ratio of the short side to the long side, then yes, these are proportional to each other. They are similar triangles. To check to see if these are similar triangles, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to compare what we call the hypotenuse of each to one of the legs. That is a big 8th grade term, just so you know. So the leg of this one is 3, and the leg of that one is 9. The hypotenuse of this one is 5, and this one is 20. When I look at this, I'm like, oh, I could divide by 4 and get to 5, but I can't do 9 divided by 4 to get to 3. I'm like, that doesn't work. So I can't think of a way to reduce them down. So that other way to check is to cross multiply. So 3 times 20. And I'm going to do 5 times 9. For this I get 60. For this I get 45. And these are not equal to each other. So that's another way to check that these are not proportional to each other. They're not similar triangles. All right. So now we're pulling everything together. We talked about looking for proportional relationships in tables and in graphs. So first of all, it says, what is a proportional relationship? Well, it is a relationship in which the ratios or unit rates being compared are equivalent. And there are two ways. I can look at the table and I can go y divided by x and see if they're all the same. So y divided by x is 12. 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. So I would say, yep, that one is proportional. I can also look at the graph. Does it form a straight line? Does it pass through the origin? Then yes, those are proportional. So down here, you're going to practice those skills, and then we will check them when you come to class.